up on the protests in Los Angeles over the ICE raids that have brought the National Guard to town as deployed by Donald Trump Sunday, June 8th. Once again, the jokes are going over everyone's head. As we covered yesterday, it's the first time in 33 years that the National Guard has been deployed to Los Angeles. And the last time it was over the Rodney King beatings that happened on 3/3, March 3rd, by the LAPD. The acquittal of those officers brought about riots that got the response of the National Guard from the government. Now, I've always pointed out how Rodney King was clearly a psyop and in tribute to history, such as Martin Luther King Jr., the only born American who has a holiday named after him. And of course, he had to be murdered to get that holiday in 68. So what became a big focus yesterday is the National Guard showed up in LA on 6/8, June 8th, as we write it in the US, is one of the last times the president called on the National Guard was in 68 after the killing of Martin Luther King Jr. And again, I've been making this point about psychological operations, how the government creates these kind of rituals to justify the force of government and the bloated budgets of police and military. The government needs this chaos on occasion to justify the incredible expenditures on police and military. And if you look into the U.S. government, you will find that its roots are based in Freemasonry, which is based in Kabbalah, where within Kabbalah there's a practice of numbers, letters, and dates. And if you look through U.S. history, you'll see this practice of numbers, letters, and dates has always been present. And it really is right in your face, especially when you learn the little secrets, like the secret practice of coding numbers into words, which has this word, gematria. For example, the National Guard is now in LA because of the protests of the ICE raids, and they arrive on 6/8. And look at the gematria of ICE raids, 68. It's this simple. This is A, B, C is 1, 2, 3. I is the ninth letter of the alphabet, C is the third, E is the fifth, R is the 18th, A is the first, I is the ninth, so on. Again, within the English alphabet, there are 4 base ciphers. The alphabetic order, like you see on the screen, the reverse alphabetic order, and both orders with numerology applied. Who deployed the National Guard? Donald John Trump, 68, right? 68. Again, MLK was killed in 68. And don't forget that the man who kind of made the news known about MLK's death was RFK, who was killed soon after in Los Angeles. RFK. Of course, RFK Jr., his son, is connected to Trump right now. You might recall after the Trump assassination hoax last July 13th, RFK Jr. got Secret Service protection and all the other rituals that we covered last year. But we've always talked about how important this 68 number is in the year 68. When you run the alphabetic order in reverse, CIA is 68. And don't forget, Papa Bush was working in the CIA in 68 when his son got out of Yale and graduated from Yale and exited Skull and Bones, the well-known secret society that had a Hollywood movie made about it with Paul Walker right before the second Bush got elected. And then remember, Paul Walker gets a red Porsche in that movie about Skull and Bones. And then he dies in a red Porsche 5 years to the day of Papa Bush dying on the same day, November 30th. And don't forget who told you Papa Bush would die no later than that November 30th, 3 months before it happened. Very specific reasons. 11 plus 30, 41, like he was the 41st president, like Skull and Bones equals 41, like how Yale has 41 secret societies at their campus, and the most well-known is Skull and Bones. The other is lock and key, and both the words lock and key equal 41. But anyway, CIA 68. Remember, in 1968, World Trade Center construction began in New York. 911 made the national emergency dialing code. So many things. Coronavirus coined. Fentanyl approved by the feds. Trump's constantly saying, you know, the fentanyl is, these illegal immigrants are really bringing it in. No, this is all your government. This is all your government. Pretty much every major agenda we're living out right now went into motion in 68. The biggest killers of the 21st century, the wars from 9/11, Cooties 19, and fentanyl. All traced back to 68. But yeah, here we are again on June 8th, where they draw these obvious parallels to what happened in 68 with Martin Luther King, as they tell you this is the first time troops deployed, National Guard to LA since Rodney King. Here's a Washington Post article. When have presidents called in the National Guard to quell domestic unrest? The National Guard was also called during the 92 LA riots and the unrest that followed Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination in 68. I remember, when I first started this kind of content in 2013 on YouTube, but, some of my earliest work was on the way the media was building the race war ever since they put Obama in office. More mockery, and the time they're scaring you about Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein to give you Barack Hussein Obama, but then all of a sudden the media really starts pushing racial divide. And as we covered yesterday, how this also fits in with the Carmelo Anthony stabbing story, which happened on Rodney King's birthday anniversary. And we're only days away from Rodney King's death anniversary, which is June 17th, which in history is the day of the Charleston church shooting. Like the Trayvon Martin thing happened on the anniversary of Rodney King getting beat. Well, Trayvon Martin was buried on the anniversary of Rodney King getting beat. But anyway, again, they use all this history. They recycle this history every time they create one of these psychological operations. The article also talks about what happened in Detroit in 67, and Detroit's never recovered from that. But remember, Trump did deploy the National Guard on on June 7th. They showed up on June 8th, 6/8. Mayor Karen Bass, in a lot of headlines, they have her quote about what the National Guard did. She said it created a chaotic escalation. A lot of media use this same phrase. Even her own government office, the city of lamayor.gov, they even put the parentheses around the phrase on her site, chaotic escalation. Again, all of these people are puppets on strings. Remember when LA burned up this year while she was out of the town, it was perfectly synced with Karen Bass. That was another major ritual from the same gang that brought you all these other rituals. Again, the Jesuit leader Ignatius Loyola said, "Go forth and set the world on fire." The Jesuits have been connected to purposely set fires all throughout history. Martin Luther King Jr., his assassination was clearly a Jesuit ritual. That's because he was killed on the 95th day of the year, and he assumed the name Martin Luther after the Protestant Reformation leader who wrote the 95 Theses, Martin Luther. And Martin Luther is what brought about the Jesuits, the military order of the Catholic Church. But yeah, chaotic escalation. Again, the motto is order out of chaos. This was CNN's front page. Mayor Karen Bass called the deployment of National Guard troops to the city a chaotic escalation. Keep in mind this went down on a Sunday, right? The sun's old name, Helios 68, the root word of heliocentrism. Again, a model that was agreed to in the century that the Jesuits were created, the 16th. The model that says the sun is at the center of it all. LA, a city very much associated with sunshine. The Catholic Church began with sun worship. The Jesuit order's logo's the sun. But again, Helios 68, solar system 68. Understanding this knowledge gives new meaning to solar system. Remember, mathematics equals 68, Catholicism 68. The Jesuits gave us the calendar, the language, and they did set up a system under the sun based on this ABC 123 that they've been using since the 16th century. Again, go survey the average American. Who gave us the calendar that says, I'm doing this broadcast today, June 9th, 2025? How many Americans do you think would be able to answer that question? Who gave us this calendar system that said we're in the year 2025? I imagine a small percentage of Americans, maybe somewhere to 5 to 10%, might know it's the Catholic Church, but then to know the specific person, you're probably talking about 1 in maybe 10,000. Because, again, this is a nation that doesn't know anything about anything other than consumerism and entertainment and sports teams and what overpriced logo they should pay for to maybe get a piece of tail on the weekend. Again, the calendar was given to us by the Jesuit priest Christopher Clavius. And that's why these are all Jesuit jokes in history that go over everyone's head, just like the assassination of MLK on the 95th day of the year. Now, this protest, it did begin June 6th, got a lot more attention the next day, June 7th, because Trump deployed the National Guard And then June 8th, it got the most attention because then that's when you got the really destructive scenes. But notice, from Trump taking office to June 6th, the day the protest began, was 137 days. National Guard equals 137. Washington, D.C. equals 137. Government equals 137. White House equals 137. Authority equals 137. 137 is the 33rd prime number. First time in 33 years that, again, the police, or excuse me, not the police, but the National Guard were deployed in Los Angeles. And once again, the LAPD is involved, just like they beat Rodney King on 3-3. This time, Karen Bass is saying the LAPD had it under control, and Trump's sending in of the National Guard escalated the violence. Now, what you have to realize is who's escalating the violence. Again, it's the paid-for protesters who really are federally sanctioned, and a lot of them are undercover police and military, the Antifas of the world. I've always given you the firsthand account of what I saw on May Day 2012 in Seattle, where Seattle was the national news story of the day for something similar like this. Just like what happened with the WTO riots at the end of the 90s before the World Trade Centers came down. Remember, the WTO riots were in Seattle, and World Trade Centers were partly built by the construction firm out of Seattle, Magnus and Klemenkic Associates, and the designer of the World Trade Centers was a Japanese-American. Japan, kamikazes, Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 127. Buildings 1, 2, and 7 fall in New York. Ground zero equals 127. Terminology from the Manhattan Project, like the World Trade Centers in Manhattan that came down 33 years after construction began. Not to mention all the planes were Boeing. There were 3 Boeing planes. Boeing debuted their jumbo jetliners in 68. Boeing's out of Seattle. Anyway, in Seattle, another city they like to use for their psychological operations. Again, just to tell the story again, May 1st, 2012, I was down there for the big protest, and it was mostly peaceful protesters, a lot of old women who didn't have to work, out there with their signs about too much corporate influence in American politics. It was the main theme of the protest that day, just way too much big money controlling our government. And then they were going to do a peaceful march through about 3 blocks this direction, 3 blocks this direction, 3 blocks this direction, 3 blocks back to make a big square. And what happened is about a block or 2 into the march, here comes a school of fish. And by a school of fish, I mean 20, 30 guys all dressed in the same all-black, masked, look like military, just brand new boots, just everything all black. You can't see their faces. They got sunglasses on. And each one of them had a black, like a sack with a brick in it. Every single one of them. And they came running in like this to the march, spinning their bricks all like this, moving together, perfectly in sync, like they were well trained. And as they passed every major corporation, every bank, one would go out and throw it through the window, smash. If they saw a nice car, smash the car. Mercedes, BMW, these kind of cars, they all got wasted. And here's the police alongside the march on bicycles and horse the whole way, just watching this whole thing go on. And I'm thinking, why didn't they immediately just do something about this group? You got a bunch of old ladies out here for the most part. Really, the march was mostly old ladies. And then this group of people in all black. But the police don't let it do anything about this, right? And so, again, this is like 3 blocks this way, 3 blocks this way, 3 blocks this way back. So they let the march go all the way up the 3 blocks, over the 3 blocks. The whole way this is going on, somebody's breaking a window everywhere, smashing a car. Police aren't doing anything. And when they're almost back to the beginning, Nike Town was almost at the, or by the beginning, I also mean by the end of the march, almost all the way back doing the full march, Nike Town's here. And what the whole group of people in black did is they all ran to Nike Town and they all pulled out their batons, and they had like police batons. They all swung them out and they all started smacking the Nike Town glass. And it was interesting to watch because I was like, wow, that glass is really resistant. It started like shaking like a big wave. And imagine it's one of those big like city windows. It's probably a 20-foot tall piece of glass, 15 feet tall, but tall. And several of them. And so they're just smacking this row of glass for Nike Town. And finally, I mean, they had to beat it for a long time. Finally, it breaks. And the moment it breaks, it was just like the choreographed moment. For anyone in Seattle, you might also remember you had the vigilante protector dressing up as a superhero on the streets of Seattle. He was down there with canister gas. He came in with the police. They all throw their gas in. it's smoke. It's the tear gas. If you've never been around that, as soon as it hits the ground in the air and disperses, you like feel it in your lungs. It makes you cough, your eyes burn. But that became the big moment, all for TV. And then next thing you know, that's all they're showing on TV all day. Oh, the chaotic protesters in Seattle, the police response. It's like, okay, the police could have, sussed this out from the moment. This whole people running there all in black, let it go on for all these city blocks, all this destruction, just to create the big scene at the very end of the march. That's how you can just see how obvious it all how controlled it is. And again, I mean, you can't get again, just all in the exact same clothes, all the same baton, everything the exact same. This wasn't just some random group of, Anyway, the point is, this is what's going on. And don't forget, that went down on May Day. May Day is the anniversary of the establishment of the Illuminati by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. And don't forget, the Jesuits are the daddies of Masonry. Modern Freemasonry, that is. Most of the rites of modern Freemasonry written by Jesuit priests. But yeah, look at this also. Just the way that Trump deployed the National Guard on June 7th. Again, 39 days after the anniversary of the National Guard being deployed in Los Angeles for the Rodney King police officer acquittal riots. Again, that was on the 119th day of the year, like Fraternal Order of Police equals 119, like we're in the time of the 119th Congress. Another special number to these people. Fire ritual equals 119. Here we are in the anniversary of the 1889 fires that burned down Seattle, Ellensburg, and Spokane, which began on a 119 date numerology and ended on a 119 date numerology. But anyway, yeah, again, 39 days after the anniversary. And just notice, federal masonry secrecy. They're all 33 forwards, 39 in reverse. Police, 33. LAPD, 33. Almost all the media showing the people with the Mexican flags. Mexican and Mexico, 33. Run it in reverse, Mexican, 39. Again, the Mexican-American War ended on the 33rd day of the year. Again, National Guard, 137. For the record, when Trump deployed the National Guard, that was 138 days after he took office. Again, the protest started 137 days after he took office, but federal's 138 like Donald Trump. So, yeah, a lot of Masonic fingerprints here. From Rodney King's birthday anniversary to Trump deploying the National Guard on 6/7 was a span of 67 days, like King equals 67. Again, they're bringing up the 67 riots in Detroit up on the 42nd parallel. Motown came out in 59. Rodney King equals 59, like slave, like Negro, like blues, like Rasta. Black History Month ends on the 59th day of the year. But yeah, just all these little perfect rituals. Again, the Carmelo Anthony stabbing on Rodney King's birthday of Austin Metcalf, another psyop going on. Same day Carmelo Anthony is nominated to the Hall of Fame, but Austin Metcalf, 207. Trump deploys the National Guard on the day leaving 207 days left in the year over a protest when the date can also be written 7/6. Karen Bass, from her birthday to the ritual, 248 days, while the country's 248 years old when President Donald Trump's 248. And don't forget, we told you 4 years in advance why they'd be reinstalling the orange clown. Go back to 2016 when they called the election for him when the Clintons conceded. Trump was at 248 electoral votes at the time. This time he gets 58% of the electoral college. Like the first time around, he won the 58th election after announcing from the 58-story Trump Tower when Freemasonry equals 58, like secret society, and the first degree is the honored apprentice, where the chump is the apprentice. Don't forget, Donald Trump equals 60, wins the 60th election. Trump alone equals 47, like he's number 47. But yeah, it's the order out of chaos thing, and it's a tribute to Rodney King. It's a tribute to Martin Luther King. It's a tribute to these people controlling history ritualistically, creating these scenes to justify the way we're governed over, And just the way Trump is, too, just praising the National Guard for getting the protest under control before they even show up. That's all part of the show, too, just to annoy people. Then they do show up and it does get crazier. But again, that's because it's all planned. They got both sides of the equation planned, They get their federal troops there, and then they get their undercover federal troops there to create the chaos. So again, for people who are new here, just like the Diddy thing, I told you more than a year in advance why Diddy was going to go down at 54, just like they took down R. Kelly at 54, and they sentenced R. Kelly to prison on the day that the Jesuits were recognized by the Roman Catholic Church in history. Jesuit order equals 54. Same Jesuit prosecutor from Georgetown got R. Kelly and Diddy. Again, Georgetown was founded by a 54-year-old John Carroll at the time. John Carroll, 54. Again, the Jesuit headquarters, the Church of the Jesu, Building 54. This is who runs the show, who controls the information that's in your mind every day. And I don't know why it's so hard for people to grasp. Religion has been used to control the minds of masses. The Catholic Church was the government of Europe at the time people were fleeing across the Atlantic to escape it to set up this nation, which was why this nation was created with one of the first concepts of freedom from religion, or freedom of religion also, but really also freedom from being ruled over by the church. And again, it's why founders such as Jefferson and Adams, who ended up dying together on the same day in history, July 4th, warned about if the Jesuits came out of suppression, which they were in at the time this nation was established, how this nation could be subverted by them. This is what it looks like. These people create chaos in our society. They keep people going to the wrong people for the solutions, and believing in this two-party political system, which represents nobody but the fascists at the top. For everyone saying one party's fascist, you're wrong. Both parties are fascist. They have been for a long time. That's why the Roman fasces is on the wall of the House of the Representatives, where it's been since the 1800s. All right, so this is what CNN's front page looks like. Let's look at what Fox's front page looks like. Department of Homeland Security. Remember, that was created after 9/11, where the whole plan went into motion in 68. Department of Homeland Security. And don't forget, they were also used to arrest Diddy in Manhattan when one of Diddy's biggest songs at the time was Juicy, which had to be banned from the radio because Biggie said, blow up like the World Trade. Yeah, they've used the Department of Homeland Security to arrest Diddy in Manhattan. Department of Homeland Security asks why Newsom is siding with foreign criminals during anti-ICE riots. Newsom being pissed about Trump deploying the National Guard and going over his head, that happened 114 days before Newsom's birthday, and President of the United States equals 114. The president went over his head. History equals 114. They are paying tribute to history. Don't forget, Gavin Newsom's another one of these Jesuit pawns. He went to Santa Clara. Trump went to Fordham. They're both Jesuit educated. Don't forget, Cooties 19 began 56 years after Trump's Jesuit education began in 64. Gavin Newsom equals 56, like Society of Jesus. That's the formal title of the Jesuits. Gavin Newsom, who locked down California, said 56% of you will get cooties in 8 weeks, which is 56 days. Of course, Hollywood's putting out the movie right now. It just premiered at Cannes and it'll debut in theaters on July 18th. That uses yours truly's quote for the trailer about all the things I laid down about 56 and the scandemic and the opening days of it. But here we are in 2025, and we can no longer get any views on YouTube. Meanwhile, the video game players who know nothing about the world are getting millions of views for covering this. Yours truly is putting down the same knowledge that I've educated about for years that used to get lots of views. Just can't get any views anymore. We figured it out too well. We've proven our point too well, and now they got to make sure nobody knows about it. Instead, you're getting this in your feed. Asmongold TV, a guy who plays video games. 10 hours ago, nearly 500,000 views. 12 hours ago, nearly 1 million views. 14 hours ago, nearly 500,000 views. Took a little break there and covered some video games. Talking about attractive people in video games. Yesterday, 1.6 million views. And if you watch these videos, it's nothing but listening to a little statist, brainwashed moron, you know? And that's what YouTube wants, you know, morons to be dominating the feed, the blind leading the blind. People that know nothing about nothing. So, no, it's annoying, you know, it's annoying. Putting down undeniable information that should be getting out so that we can actually, change what's going on in this nation, but instead they make sure the only thing hitting the feed is the propaganda and the people who are under the mind control of the propaganda. Like I just said, the blind leading the blind. Let me open up the phone line real quick. If you guys got something to add to this ritual that I'm overlooking so far, it is that number on the screen. Shout out to Jackson, who sent over $2 on PayPal. Appreciate that. It is the 509 number. I just opened the phone line, so if you try to call in right now, it should open. If you tried to call in a second ago, it wouldn't let you through. But yeah, if you have anything to add to this ritual, I got about 25 minutes here. And then I got to do the Patreon live stream for the day. Shout out to Leper Messiah again. Appreciate you, Zach. Much love from Akron, Ohio. Yeah, the land where LeBron, Curry, and Nate Thurman were all born in the same hospital. Of course, Nate Thurman played for the Warriors and the Cavs, and we used him to explain why the Warriors and Cavs finals would happen before they ever even happened, and why LeBron was going to win on the real King James's birthday, where he dropped 27, and then Nate Thurman died 27 days later. Of course, Nate Thurman's likely LeBron's real dad. Thank you as well, Leslie. Sending over some of that Canadian currency. Appreciate that. We got a call here from 814. What's up, 814?
Hey, what's up? It's Jared.
Oh, hey, Jared. How you doing, man?
What they were saying on the news today, I caught, was that this is the first time since a president sent National Guard troops without state request in 60 years, 1965, during the Civil Rights era.
Donald Trump 60th election, yeah. Order 60, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But I was going through, some old, Rodney King articles and stuff, and one thing stuck out when he died, made me think of something else. Well, it turns out that he ended up becoming a Jehovah's Witness before he died, just like Prince did. I'm like, oh, Prince, King. And so I looked, and 6/7 is Prince's birthday.
And he would have been 67 years old this year, too, because he was born in 58, like Michael Jackson. I was thinking about that. Yeah, Prince, born June 7th, 58.
Yeah, and of course he died on the Queen's birthday, just like the Pope just died on the Queen's birthday.
Like he had the song, I Would Die For You. Number 4 letter U, you, the 21st letter, dies on 4/21. Yeah, Rome's birthday, absolutely.
But, yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there.
All right, appreciate that, man. Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
Take care. Yeah. And don't forget, Prince had the song Black Donald Trump. A lot of 201 rituals with the Jesuits. Prince died 201 days before the election was called for Trump. Inauguration day is the 201st day of the nation's age, 20/1, like the Jesuit order equals 201, like inauguration of the President of the United States equals 201. And it wasn't always, again, the capital wasn't always the Jesuit stronghold, D.C., and it wasn't always the 201st day of the nation's age, July 4th to January 20th. Here, while we wait on the next call, here's what it looks like in the news. Here's the news coverage. This is what you get in the news.
Tensions are rising in the Los Angeles area. Over the weekend, protesters clashed with federal and local law enforcement agents. Sunday, marking the third day of demonstrations in response to recent immigration raids across California, where dozens of people were arrested as part of the White House's crackdown on unauthorized immigration.
Our community is in terror, is scared to just live, to just exist.
Sunday, the Los Angeles Police Department declared protests outside the Metropolitan Detention Center an unlawful assembly and authorized use of less lethal munitions. The unrest spilling over onto the 101 freeway, with demonstrators temporarily halting traffic that afternoon. While the protests play out on the LA streets, the federal and state governments are at odds. A coalition of 22 Democratic governors condemned President Donald Trump's deployment of 2,000 National Guard, calling the move an alarming abuse of power. But President Trump says it's to help restore order. Both California Governor Gavin Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass are urging peace and denouncing this deployment of troops.
What we're seeing in Los Angeles is chaos that is provoked.
You gotta love how the one radio station they have up there is 89.3. Remember, Los Angeles, California equals 89, so does chaos. And as we talked about, the day that Trump deployed the National Guard was 89 days before LA's birthday on September 4th. It was also 118 days before her birthday, and Los Angeles, California equals 118, the city on the 118th meridian west with a birthday that leaves 118 days left in the year. Again, Los Angeles, California, 89 when you run it forwards, 118 when you run it in reverse, kind of like how it in Paradise burned up on November 8th, 118, and Paradise, California is also 118.
By the administration. And deploying federalized troops is a dangerous escalation.
In Los Angeles, I'm Maribel Gonzalez.
All right, they got some silent coverage here. You know, just the thing about the federal troops, too. Remember, federal equals 33, right? Like, first time in 33 years this has been done in L.A. Police is 33, federal, masonry, secrecy, order. Mexico, Mexican, a lot of Mexican flags in the well-choreographed propaganda that's being created. When Trump deployed the secret federal police the first time around, that was the first time he was president, back when he was number 45. Remember, he first deployed that secret federal police force that had never been used before in Oregon, the 33rd state, to arrest Antifa, which is also a federal operation. So, yeah, that was another 33 special in the 33rd state. And for people who don't know, right now in Washington state, they're using the National Guard, and they have areas locked down to search for a former National Guard member who supposedly killed his 3 children, Travis Decker. So using the National Guard right now in Washington state to create fear, to lock down areas at the same time. And the governor here deployed the National Guard on the same day that Trump deployed the National Guard, funny enough. And I was just making the point that the mother of the man they're searching for who supposedly killed the 3 daughters, she last saw her daughters on the 150th day of the year, Whitney Decker 150. She's got the 201 in her name. Again, I covered this earlier, but the husband, he's got the 54, like Jesuit order, like Wenatchee, Washington, where it happened, like sun. You can see heliocentrism, again, the model from the 16th century, the century of the Jesuits, that has to do with the sun, like the church and the Jesuits. Just how it all fits together. You really got to think about it, though. But they say he's 32 years old, like the 32 sun rays on the Jesuit order's logo. The bodies of the daughters found on the 153rd day of the year, Jesuit order. The governor deploys the National Guard on his 144th day in office, Jesuit order. What are the odds that in 2 of the 3 West Coast states, we got the National Guard deployed? Different reasons, but at the same time. And again, it's just, the U.S. is a police state. It is a police military state. It always has been. It just becomes more obvious with time. People got to wake up. And again, what was one of the first things that happened the day that Trump took office? They have this Stargate project, and the leader of Oracle's the most outspoken. And just a few months earlier in September, the leader of Oracle had been talking about the new AI technology that they're working on in other companies and how he sees a utopian future where, you guys, if you have not heard what the Oracle guy said in September 2024, look it up. He said he sees a future where everybody has to wear a body camera at all times. Everything is under surveillance. And he said it'll bring out the best behavior in everybody. Again, all things good and bad. You could imagine how being under total surveillance and having to wear a camera at all time, how it would probably bring out some better behaviors for you. But here's the other thing you need to think about. What is really the evil, oppressive, murderous, ruling force in this world? It is your government. It's killing more than anybody. It's lying more than anybody. It's creating more destruction than anybody. It's the thing that's going to run this surveillance system. Do you think they're ever going to use it for themselves? All they're going to do is use it to conquer all of their political opposition, which are pretty much the only people in the world that still have any courageousness in them, any courage, I should say, any qualities of what an American was supposed to be. Very few people have it in them. Most people are just statists, fascists without even knowing it. They cheer on this corporate government machine that murders brown people all over the world in the name of cheap consumer goods for Americans. People that don't want to think about any of this evil because it hurts their mind. They just want to get the benefits of it from the cheap T-shirt at Walmart or whatever store. And again, that's why. Yeah, most people here are complicit in the agenda. They haven't lifted a finger. They haven't questioned anything. They haven't thought about anything. A lot of people are outraged about all these people coming across the border. When you should have been outraged is back in the 90s when they passed these crazy trade deals that only benefited the super corporations that put all of the local farmers out of business in Latin America, which created the drive to, come up here where some remaining jobs were. Again, there were these trade deals that set the price of corn and other foods at rates so low that the only people who could possibly make any profit off it are those who sell a gazillion units of corn or a gazillion avocados in a year or a gazillion, whatever in a year. Nobody else, because the average farmer is like, I can't live at that agreed to now trading rate for the price of that commodity. These things were understood by economists, by politicians, even like Byron Dorgan, who was the most outspoken about it in the 90s. He said NAFTA cannot pass. He said you're going to create a lot of illegal immigration because these people have no other choice. Will be the only place for employment. Yeah. And then if you go to the government looking for solutions, how? I mean, didn't Trump tell you the first time around that he was going to build a big, beautiful wall and he was going to make Mexico pay for it? And then all we did was spend a bunch of money on a wall that's all full of holes like Swiss cheese that just cost us a lot of money and did nothing for the next administration to come in and supposedly let even more immigrants through. It's just all of this is a show. And realize it's the corporations that want the illegal immigrants here because they can pay them nothing. Go back and look at what was documented about what happened after Katrina. A lot of these corporations brought in illegal immigrants to fix up New Orleans and the areas damaged by Katrina, and then they also took them back to where they got them from and didn't pay them anything. They got free labor. They got slave labor. There was a lot of documentation about that if you looked into it at the time, but not on ABC or CBS or NBC or Fox or CNN. None of these networks give you any of the information you need to know. They just keep you just stuck in bullshitville, pointing fingers at opposite political parties. And yeah, no, it's just people without a clue. And again, the U.S. is one of the only nations where people still turn on the TV and just believe what's shoved down their throats. So. Someone says, do you think the U.S. will make it to the year 2100? Like I've said a million times before, again, this nation is, it's like the Soviet Union. They'll break it up into pieces, and then they'll have wars between those pieces, just like you see going on right now with Russia, Ukraine. This is the game. This has been the game all throughout history. Create war, make new boundaries, do the boundaries in a strategic way that creates unnecessary tensions so that you have more reason for warring. Because again, war is money for the people at the top. Like I'm telling you, the Jesuits run the show. Who are the Jesuits? The Jesuits are the modern day Templars. Who were the Templars? The Templars were warriors and the first bankers. And what do they say? All wars are bankers' wars. A lot of people have it all twisted because they listen to these other half-truthers online that say it's the small hats doing all this. No, it's not. When this nation was being founded, there wasn't anybody warning about small hats. There wasn't Jefferson and Adams talking about how the small hats could subvert the nation. No, they were talking about how the Jesuits could subvert the nation. Lincoln didn't blame the Civil War on the small hats. He blamed it on the Jesuits. Same people that run the show today. Well, what's up, 206?
Hey, Zach, how you doing?
Oh, it's the voice. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. I've been watching your videos the last couple of days, but I hadn't had a chance to call in. But yeah, man. I just wanted to say something about these riots. Apparently, people that was down there before the enactment of I don't know if Trump just enacted the Insurrection Act, and of course, him enacting the National Guard. They were saying that the protests down there weren't like what they show on the TV is like somebody who was down there, boots on the ground down there. They literally were saying that it was nowhere near the tension or what is being purported on TV. Now, of course, there's in certain parts there are skirmishes, but nowhere near what they're saying that.
Yeah, it's the choreographed scenes. Again, they got their federal National Guard down there, and they got their federal Antifa troops for the made-for-TV scenes.
Yeah. I mean, you can kind of tell, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, it's just, I mean, of course, like if you see somebody maybe film something of them throwing rocks and shit, then that's one thing. But you know, funny thing is, like they're targeting a lot of, like ICE is targeting a lot of these immigrants and whatnot, right? Well, a lot of the people that are attacking aren't even the immigrants that they're going after. Like, they're not even Mexican and whatnot. They're actually white people. So it's just funny to see that. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
it's the Antifa people. I mean, you ever seen Antifa? They are all white. Some of them are as white as ghosts. So
Right. So it's just interesting. And as far as like what's going on with this agenda 2030, of course it's going as planned, but I do question how long is it really going to take for them to establish their new world order and the base system that they're trying to establish with the technology, because I know that with AI they definitely can control a lot of things with that. I mean, they're blurring things of reality right before our eyes. And of course, they've been doing that with the TV and whatnot. Of course, you had the movie I, Robot that was set, what year, 2032, 33, if I'm not mistaken, and whatnot. I'm not sure if that's where they're going to be at that particular time. But yeah, I mean, 2100, I don't know if that's like, can't even count a portion of that with where the society is going.
by the way, just the way I think AI works in the chat, as soon as you make a comment, it's just some person I've never seen comment before here has 3 comments. I'm here, I'm seeing it. It's Mexicans on the ground. Trust me. It's just like, I feel like we're in the days of AI bots in the chat too, listening and responding. Yeah, actually just watch the videos of people put out down there. It's just a lot of Antifa looking people. There are some Hispanics out there, definitely. But yeah, there's a lot of the white Antifa types. Have you ever seen me getting bear sprayed in the face by Antifa in Portland? I got bear sprayed by a person who was literally as white as a ghost, as white as the background on my website. So,
oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's funny? What's ironic? Like, because this came, all these protests came like not too long after the situation that happened up here. I'm pretty sure you're very aware of. I don't know if it was Seward Park. I'm not sure which exact part, but those Christians were going against the LGBTQ.
Cal Anderson, the one up in Capitol Hill. Yeah, probably the best park in Seattle.
Yep, Capitol Hill, and that shit ended up happening out of nowhere, and now we're seeing this shit. So it's a lot of things happening back to back to back, and you kind of tell that it's being carefully orchestrated to rise tensions of insurrection, so they can I just saw an article just earlier today that Trump is talking about having pretty much he's talking about a police state trying to have these the National Guard or the military everywhere to stop all these so-called riots and shit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's just like last time he was president. It was a lot of police state stuff after the George Floyd psyop, which started on East 33rd Street, and
right.
And again, like I said, the first day he's there, he's got all the tech billionaires talking about their big AI project when the same guy, the head of Oracle, had just said a few months earlier his future vision of where everyone wears a camera and everything's under surveillance and the AI can monitor all of it. It's just like, that's
right.
Unbelievable. They're deploying billions of dollars right away for the police state. And that's what I mean, that's been my whole message the whole time I've been on here, and it's been my message since September 11th happened. I saw it back then as an 18-year-old. I said, this is really all just about creating a police state here in the United States of America. And again, Seattle had the World Trade Organization riots just before the World Trade Centers came down, and those whole things were instigated not by the protesters that are there, but by the little undercover element they threw in, which is like today's Antifa, and a lot of people said those were undercover cops. Yeah, it's just it's sad that people have not figured out what's going on in the United States of America. It's pathetic, really.
Yeah, it is. And the patterns are just getting too obvious. I think the way they're doing, like I would say maybe 10 years ago, they would try to hide it. But now it's way too obvious at this point.
Who's talking about it, though, at this point? Who's talking about it, really? Is anybody else talking about these things with Rodney King and MLK online? Because if I'm the only one talking about it, this isn't getting any views anymore. I mean, this video would have probably got 500,000 views in 2017, but it might get 3,000 views this time around.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, no doubt. I mean, and to me, I think, and you know what's crazy? I mean, when things become more apparent, people, I don't know if it's just because people don't want to see it. They just have more of a cognitive dissonance. You know what I'm saying? Especially, look, I mean, both sides are a bunch of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Both sides are nothing but as above, so below, two sides of the same coin. But, it's funny to see a lot of these people that rooted for Trump. You know what I'm saying? They're turning a blind eye to all this shit. And we already know that the dudes.
Well, that's what everyone does, right? That's what everyone does with their political parties. Yeah. It's just like 2008. All the Democrats take the Oval Office, the House, the Senate. They were out protesting the wars. Now they got every branch of government, and they escalate the wars, and everybody who was out protesting, they're not protesting anymore. They're like, well, whatever. We're in power. So it's pathetic. Right. Man. It's pathetic.
Yeah, it's pathetic, and it's sad. And what's so funny is that it's this very small group of Luciferian satanic people running this world. Yet that small majority can control so much because they know that the majority have half a brain, if even have that half. That's how bad. That's how bad it is. You know what I'm saying? And
well, everybody's under the mind control of the screens, right? So you only need so many people to run the screens, and then everybody's getting the same information through the screens. That's how they've done it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, they've done a great job, man. And it's just yeah. And you try to talk to some of these people, like they just like it's to me it's like because I always even talk about gematria. No matter where I'm at, because where I'm speaking about, because this is something that they're actually using. It's not you can't like when you even watch old shows, even just old movies and whatnot, you see the numerology.
It's been going on the whole time, right? Have you seen the new Tyler Perry movie that's #1 on Netflix right now?
Yeah.
42-year-old woman. 42-year-old woman.
Yeah.
In the beginning, at the 10-minute mark, she goes to the bank because she needs to get out $40, and they say, "Oh, you only have 47 in your account. We can't give you the 40 because then that goes below the minimum you have to." I'm like, look at that, 47. I mean, just same thing. If you guys don't know, in the background, I have a license plate that says, "What is 47?" I'm always talking about 42 in Black history. From if you guys don't know, from the history of the Federal Reserve being established to the Federal Reserve Bank's opening was exactly 47 weeks later. Again, government, authority, banks, news, a million other things connected to authority, all equal 47. But I've said it 1,000 times. I can't turn on a movie or a TV show without 47. Sweet Lady started watching a show popular on Netflix that might have come out a year or so ago called Fake Profile. In one of the early episodes, they're like, "We got all the surveillance after 9:47 p.m." It doesn't make sense. Like, why even say, but just, they got to put the same shit everywhere. After 9:47, they got the surveillance footage. Okay.
No, what's funny about that, since you mentioned the number 47, I was watching an old anime series from like the 80s, right? And it had something to do with war, and I saw the number 47 in one of the hangars that they had.
Yeah.
And I saw nothing but skull and crossbones all throughout. I'm like, damn, man. Like, it's even in this shit. You know what I'm saying? Or even, what is the video game, Agent 47?
Yeah, Hitman. And the word agent equals 47, right?
Right. And we have the 47th president right now, which is Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? It's just...
And again, the Masons, the Masons study the 47th problem of Euclid. They lay that, again, he ran on The Apprentice, the first degree of Freemasonry. It's all one big connected ritual.
Right.
Rodney King dead at 47. I made that point the other day. That Trump's doing this. The parallels to Rodney King who died at 47 with the 4/2 birthday.
Oh my God. Yeah, nothing in his life is real, man. I mean, and that's the hard truth about it. Nothing is authentic in his life, man.
Well, that comes through our government and media. I mean, our own lives have a level of authenticity, but again, most people's lives are being controlled by all this mind control crap. So, but yeah, when we go out and pound pavement in Seattle, that's authentic. But
right, yeah. I'm just saying, like, these news stories and some of the stuff that's put on the national news, and worldwide, all this shit is interconnected. You know what I'm saying? Even with all the news, all these different news stations are all controlled, like Al Jazeera, Russia Today, CNN, Fox. They all have the same entity controlling them.
Yeah.
It's just they're all in different spectrums and different perspectives.
Right. Yep.
So yeah. No, I mean, look, I'll just say this on this, to me, I think Gematria, understanding how they use it, how they use the Kabbalistic coding of numerology. I mean, I just don't see how anybody else can't get it, especially if you're told this, because it's just clear to see. And it's just like, this shit is just, like, the shit that we're seeing on the news is just fucking fake as fuck now, and yeah, I mean, yeah, no, that's just all I wanted to call it, man, what I've been seeing.
Oh, by the way, this is this headline about how Pete Hegseth is deploying the Marines to LA. Remember, Pete Hegseth was nominated on the Superior General's birthday, November 12th. Just another major Jesuit salute. And then he was finally sworn in all the way 38 days after the Pope's birthday, when Pentagon equals 38 and DC's on the 38th parallel. Again, 38's the big killing number, like what militaries do. But yeah, there's just so many signs. It is the Jesuits who stand behind this and are constantly giving us the tributes to history. And as they say, those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Almost no American even knows about the Jesuits and how they were warned about when the country was founded.
Yeah, well, even with because really the Jesuits have been formed since the 1500s, right? And looking at it from the standpoint, every nation, where there've been places like Japan, whether it be places like Russia, they always warned about people like what's his name, Francis Xavier, and people of that ilk, the things that they were bringing forth, because they started to cause wars and dissension, and through that, order out of chaos, they took over.
Yeah.
We can see the symbolisms all throughout.
Yeah, indeed. This other headline about how Newsom is suing the federal government. You guys got to think about all this, because it's all ritual. When the state government sues the federal government, there's a lot of taxpayer money being used. All of this stuff is our funds being used to essentially make fun of us. And for all you guys who are out there who are blue liners and you really support the police, you should look into how about 4% of the police budget is actually used to maybe protect people from like the things that you'd want a police force for. 96% is cops sitting on the side of the highway, just unnecessary drills and training, and just all kinds of bullshit in the budget. Essentially 96% of the money we spend on police is a waste. And that's a lot of money. We're talking about a massive amount of money. And like I said, the only real reason the police is here is to deter good men from doing what they would do. Again, the founders, we weren't supposed to have standing armies, which are now the police. We were supposed to be able to protect ourselves from enemies, foreign and domestic. I've seen since I was 18 years old, what's considered an adult, what the domestic enemy is. It is our government. And for all those who can't see it, it's because you're under severe mind control. The day 9/11 happened, everyone should have known what time it was and how obvious of a lie that was and who was really in control, especially who the president was, right? The son of the last Republican president, where the election came down to the state where his brother was, and then 9/11 happens 11 years to the day of his father, talking about a new world order as the World Trade Center comes down. As an 18-year-old, I was onto all those things, and every man should have been onto those things with the tools they had at their hands, too. The internet, the ability to research, the ability to see the obvious dots, and that domestic enemy should have been removed, but instead you had a lot of people putting yellow bumper stickers on their car and cheering on a needless war that cost a lot of lives. And even stuff like now, they're saying this guy who's on the loose in Washington State that has the National Guard deployed out here because he killed his own family, they're saying he lost his mind from being overseas in Afghanistan. Again, this is the problem with not stopping tyranny. And again, go back to that MLK speech from April 4th, 67, a year to the day of his assassination. He said, really, the source of all the evil in this nation is the U.S. military policy and how it abuses its youth with these needless wars that are really to serve corporate masters. And think about it. Fred, I got to get off because I got to start my live stream on Patreon, but always good to hear your voice.
Oh, yeah, likewise, Zach.
All right.
No problem.
All right, you have a good day, man. Take care.
Likewise.
See ya.
Take care.
562, I got time for one call, but it's got to be 1 minute, and then I got to, they hung up. All right, I do got to get off. I got to start my Patreon live stream, so You want more live stream? We'll be over on the Patreon, patreon.com/Zachary K. Hubbard. But yeah, again, if you guys can hit the like, if you can hit the share, if you can leave a comment, even if it's one word, it's all supposed to help in the algorithm. Again, YouTube has buried us in the algorithm and made it pretty much impossible to get any traction ever since I launched this channel. We've never had such horrible views. But yeah, this work deserves to get out. And if it was getting the views, it might get on other people's radar and make them contend with the information. I entertain any kind of conversation about this. People trying to debunk it, saying it's nonsense. This work needs to get out there, and people need to have a chance for themselves to make up their mind. Is this just all some kind of coincidence? The ICE raids leads to the National Guard on the ground on 6/8 as they compare it to MLK being killed and the president deploying the National Guard. As they also give you the Rodney King parallel along with Martin Luther King. You know what I mean? Is this stuff all a coincidence? Or is there something greater to it? Again, MLK was in 68, National Guard on the ground in LA on 6/8. Is it because of this guy, Mr. 68 himself, no doubt a CIA pawn? Or is he not? Or are you convinced that America's all legit and our elections are above board? And again, let's have a greater conversation about it, because I'm pretty sure all my detractors and critics are 100% wrong. All right, we'll leave it there for now, Truth Seeker. Thanks again to the 3 people who super chatted. I saw somebody named Brian sent over a $5 Cash App. Thank you very much. Shout out to Leper Messiah, who chipped in 5. Leslie Margarita, who chipped in $2.79 Canadian. Actually, Carla Hernandez, who chipped in 5. And Andres Narano, who chipped in 2. He said, "Amusing Ourselves to Death" by Neil Postman. Must be a song. I'll have to look it up. Again, thank you to the 4 people who sent over super chats. Much appreciated. Until next time, Truth Seeker.